Y'all got some opinions. Hello and welcome back to the Jean May channel. My name is Paula Jean, and in my last video I was wrestling between two possible wedding guest dress makes. One was the Lark Frock by Lydia Naomi, the other one was the Innis dress by Just Patterns. A bunch of you weighed in and had some very definite thoughts about which one I looked better in and which one was either more appropriate or not, or things to think about. So thank you very much. I read all of them, considered all of them. In the end, the deciding question was, if it rains or hails or thunderstorms or flash thunder snows, because that happens, do I want to be wearing a dress that is lighter or darker in color? And the answer to that question was the Lark Frock by Lydia Naomi in the plum vintage hat printed cotton sateen. Now, I probably could have done this reveal in a short, but one, I don't know how many of you watch shorts, and also where's the fun in that? But if that's all you wanted to know and you're like, okay, great, have fun at the wedding and peace out. Thank you for watching this far. I hope you will stick with me though, because I actually made some changes to the construction of the dress and added some embellishments. So I hope that you will stick with me for a few more minutes. In part one, I had done a muslin of each of the patterns and went through some of the pattern adjustments that I was going to make to each of them as well. So if you'd like those details, feel free to check out that video at your leisure. For those of you who have seen that one, I am happy to report that the adjustment that I made to the front bodice, which was after the FBA, moving some of those gathers under the bust toward the side seam, along with smoothing out that arm side point, did exactly what I wanted it to do. So I no longer have that tension point where the sleeve meets the upper bust, which means great things for my dancing capabilities in this dress. I also added a lining to the skirt part, which is not in the instructions. So I'm actually going to do a little time warp and take you back to me constructing the dress so I can show you what I did to get a clean finish on that lining and also how I beefed up the hem. So the original instruction is with a lined bodice and an unlined skirt. I wanted to line the skirt because this is very, very lightweight fabric and I just felt better having a lining. And I chose this super soft and lightweight, like a cotton poplin, that works really, really well. So for the bodice, because you have these gathers under the bust, this is actually treated, the lining of the bodice is actually treated as an interlining, meaning that you kind of treat it as one and you run your gathering stitches through both layers of fabric. Otherwise, you would get two separate layers of gathering. It would be really bunchy and funky in here, so you treat it as one. And from there, you're supposed to attach the skirt right sides together to the bodice. So I did that, but because I was adding a lining, I basted these two together, basted the outer fabric of the skirt to the bodice, and then with the lining of the skirt, I stitched it all together, put the lining on the other side, basically right side of the lining to the lining side of the bodice, sewed that all together, and I understitched only the lining. So I only attached the seam allowance here to the lining. In the instructions, you're supposed to also do a row of, well, not also do, but you're supposed to do a row of stitching here under the bust. I chose not to do that because I just like this look better. So with that done, you'll notice that the lining and the dress is attached here, and I couldn't find another way around that. So originally I thought when I do my side seams that I was gonna just have to sew everything right sides together, treat the lining and the outer fabric the same, find a nice way to finish, you know, maybe French seam the side seams or something like that. But I found another way. So to explain that, let me show you the back. It is closed with an invisible zipper. It's got this keyhole opening and then a little button loop at the top, which is really, really cute. You'll remember that I needed to take a fair amount out of the length of the back bodice here, and it was basically a sway back adjustment, but instead of taking a wedge out where I usually do and making a weird looking pattern piece, I decided to cut it at the waist and make a seam line that basically matches up with the underbust seam here. And that just allowed me to make a cleaner looking and more intentional looking adjustment. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. The original instructions for the back bodice, because it is originally all one piece, it has a facing piece that basically stops just a few inches down from the top of the zipper. And that's how you finish the upper bodice, and then the rest of the back of the skirt is unlined. Again, I was lining mine, so I just used my original back bodice piece. I doubled it and did the full lining to the waist, and then used my gray fabric to make a skirt lining as well. Now, because the back did not require me to have the lining of the bodice and the outer part of the bodice connected, because there's no gathering or anything, I could do the darts separately. So that means my whole side seam is open. So what I decided to do, instead of just treating it all the same and doing a plain seam, I did a burrito method, and I've already done it on one side, so I'm just going to show you on this what I've done. So this is the inside. So I'm going to take the front bodice, match it right sides together at that seam, and I'll just put a temporary little pin in here because I'm just showing you. And then I take the lining of the back, bring it all the way around to the front, so all the whole dress is inside, match up that seam line again. And again, I'm just putting one pin in just to give you the idea. And then basically I'm going to pin this all the way down as a burrito, the whole side seam, and I'm going to stitch that along here, and then I'm going to be able to pull out the dress and have basically the nice, clean inner side seam finish, just like that. One thing I forgot to mention is that I had pre-finished the hem of the lining. This is just a narrow half-inch hem, so it's a 1/4 inch finished. I just rolled it up twice, and I did that before I sewed the side seams because it all gets captured into the side seams, and with this finish you will end up with all of the seams going toward the back. For the hem of the dress, I actually made a hem facing. So this is just a 2.5 inch piece of fabric. I have interfaced it with a really lightweight knit interfacing. This is just to give a little tiny bit of weight to the bottom and a nice finish to the hem. So I'm going to sew this right sides together with the hem. I'm going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance here, and then once that's finished, I'm going to press it up, and that is going to finish right below the hem of my lining. Because the fabric is a very lightweight cotton sateen and it's a little bit more on the casual side, which is what I wanted. This is a casual wedding and I don't want to stand out like a sore thumb. But I did feel like it needed a little bit of embellishment. So I went through some of my trims, and for those of you who saw my video last year when I was making and dyeing and embellishing the Gibbons slip dress, and I had pulled out some potential trims for that, you might remember a pretty dainty little black abstract rosette trim that I didn't end up using on that project, but I thought it would be a really beautiful touch on this dress. It is a fairly chunky trim, so I used a denim needle for this, a size 16 needle, and I lengthened my stitch length to I think 3 millimeters, and I just took a little bit slower pace as I was stitching it on, and that worked great. As I was thinking about accessories that I might want to wear with this, I remembered that I had this flower that I made actually many, many years ago. It's just made up out of gathered up grosgrain ribbon, and then I had done some beading along the edges of it. But I also remember that I had a lot of these beads left over. So I found those, and I had seed beads, bugle beads, and also these really cool, I don't know what the name of the shape is, but it's basically if you take two pyramids and put them bases together, one on top of the other, kind of a mirrored pyramid, it's that shape. And they're this very cool kind of iridescent oil slick color. So I didn't want to go overboard with anything, but I thought that just a single seed bead in the middle of each little rosette would be just enough to level it up just a tiny bit. And I know that this seems very tedious, and it's like, well, who's going to notice, whatever. But I am somebody who really notices and appreciates details. And especially when the world is so fast-paced, nobody has any attention span, I really like to kind of reward other people like me who really like and appreciate intricacies and details. So it's like a little visual treat for those people who are like that. So I felt like it was worth it doing it. And just that one little bead, I think, makes a huge difference. And because this is a neckline that isn't really conducive to wearing a necklace, I thought I would add a little bit of bling to the drawstring that cinches up that keyhole neckline. So I just use all three types of beads to make a subtle little, not a tassel, but just a little bit of an embellishment at the end of the drawstring. So that just gives a little reflective element. I hope that those of you who were pulling for the Innis dress aren't too disappointed. I did do the adjustments necessary on that pattern, so I will be working on that dress when I get back from the wedding, so hang tight for that. And if you're interested in the dress that I am wearing, it is the Flora dress by Pattern Scout, and I do have a video on here about that. It's made out of linen. I did a little bit of embroidery embellishment on it as well, and you can see everything in that video. I will link it down below. And with that, I am off to Montreal to have fun with some of my favorite people in the world. I hope that you are enjoying the change of season wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for watching. Take great care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.